Shalom Akim. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and Shalom to the sincere Akim, spreading this truth in sincerity. Shalom. So in this video, I want to delve into um, an example actually of someone over here in the Netherlands that committed like tax fraud, and that thought that he was able to gain a lot with it, but in the end he actually lost a lot. So the gains that he thought that he would have by plagiarizing deceit and fraudulent behavior did not happen the way that he actually expected, man. And in the end he basically had to pay the price, man. And it is actually an example of this Dutch, I don't even know what he is, man, but his name is called Joey Bravo, and that's basically his stage name. His real name is Karwan Talai, which I think he is either an Amalekite or an Ishmaelite, but I'm not sure. But I saw a video of him coming by about this dude. It's like it spoke about him and his situation, and how he basically portrayed to the Dutch people how he got very rich with drop shipping, and how that was actually like the reason why he was able to create the quote unquote perfect life, Dubai life, Hollywood type of life over here in Holland that he so-called claimed to have, man. But even on his Wikipedia it talks about the tax fraud. It says in July 2025 it was announced that Talai by the it's called Openbaar Ministerie, but basically by the government, was persecuted for fraud concerning his his tax, man, like with the IRS. It says Talai basically gave false information from 2016 to 2022, so he did not give the IRS the proper information concerning how much money he made, and what he was supposed to pay in taxes, trying to pay less or pay nothing at all. It says, and in the years between 2018 and 2021 he did not file for any taxation whatsoever. It says, so because of that he paid too little tax for all those years. It also says he forged documents with him trying to file for a loan for his house, which I think that he was living in a villa, man. A villa for a couple of millions. It says after his confession, he was being sentenced to what is this word in the English, man? Taakstraf. That's like community service. of 240 hours and a and being locked up in jail for 9 months. Also, he's not allowed to run a company for 3 years in Holland. So the point that I'm trying to make is this man, he serves as an example of what will happen if you are in a fraudulent way trying to gain or get further in life. That's why it says Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 2, it says, treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. So being busy with wicked things and gaining from that ain't gonna help you out in life at all. But what is gonna help you out is performing righteousness in the sight of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. You see, even to the point that it is able to deliver you from death. So what I want to do in this video is I want to bring out a couple of scriptures on that topic. How that ain't beneficial though. Being occupied with that wickedness. This is Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 11. So look here. It says, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. So if you gain wealth, which wealth is actually something that lasts for generations. Being rich, that is something that you might profit from in your own life. But wealth is that which, generations upon generations, of your family is able to profit from. It says wealth gotten by vanity, in things that basically are not right, shall be diminished. So it's going to become less and less. But he that gathereth by labor shall increase. So if you put in the work, the Heavenly Father is going to bless, the hands, that you're basically working with, man. Your pockets are going to be filled. And this man, even though he did drop shipping, he was plagiarizing things and making things better than they actually were. And through that, he got himself messed up, man. Because if he would have done it in the way that he was supposed to do it, all nice and neat according to the law, hey, it might not have been so profitable as he made it seem to be for himself by plagiarizing and forging so that he could keep more money. But on a long term, he would have gotten more than what he was able to gather now in those 6 years, man, 6 or 7 years. So do not think that if you're trying to cheat your way out of a situation or, you're trying to do certain things with an ill manner that is going to be blessed by the Heavenly Father, because the Heavenly Father ain't down with that, man. Proverbs chapter 20 verse 17. Bread of deceit is sweet to a man, but afterward his mouth shall be filled with gravel. You see, so bread gained by the seed of deceit is sweet to a man. Yeah, so it might be a pleasurable thing, or it might seem like a pleasurable situation that you got yourself in, with what you was able to keep in your pocket. But afterward, his mouth shall be filled with gravel. Basically meaning you're gonna eat dust, man. You're gonna eat dust. You're gonna have those stones, the dust, and the things that you do not want to have in your mouth. You're gonna have that in your mouth, man. So basically, it might seem sweet the way that you try to obtain, those riches, but afterwards you're gonna be left with nothing, man. You're gonna be left with nothing. This is Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 11. As the partridge sitteth on eggs, and hatcheth them not, so he that getteth riches, and not by right, shall leave them in the midst of his days, and at his end shall be a fool. Yeah, so if you are able, to, gain certain things not in the right way, all the work, labor that you put in shall be for nothing, you know? And that is actually, what is going to happen with those that, put in the work, or, in better sense, do not put in the work because they're trying to cheat their way out of it with, quick money, quick this, quick that, quick this, that, and the third. But in the end, they basically fool themselves. They're playing with them with their own with their own finances, their own reputation. They mess up themselves. You know, and that's also let me see where it is. Yeah, the throne is established by righteousness. This is Proverbs chapter 16 in verse 12. It says, "It is an abomination to kings to commit wickedness, for the throne is established by righteousness." So a king, the position that he has is one wherein he is actually serving the people. Right? So he's in a position where he's able to serve people, and he has to take care of them, and he has to judge them and make the right decisions, right? That's what a king is supposed to be for. To govern things and make sure that everything is done decently and in order. But it is an abomination for them, to commit wickedness. It says, "For the throne is established by righteousness." Because the way that they actually acquired their position, by the will of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, is because, they were doing the right things. They were doing things in righteousness. And the moment that they don't do that no more, that's the moment that they're basically going to be taken out of their position, slowly but surely, man. Whether that is today, tomorrow, in a couple of years. This man that was building himself, like his own quote unquote kingdom, his own empire, his own, you know, community of people that, would look up to him, being that he's an influencer, an artist, whatever, a dropshipper, teaching other people to do the same thing. He built himself that quote unquote kingdom, right? But it only lasted for a couple of years. Why? Because he did not do the things in the right way that they were supposed to do. And that's when the Heavenly Father was like, you know what? Your time has come. Your time has come, to be exposed for the things that you have done, and you ain't gonna get away with it. That's why it also says, in Sirach chapter 10, this is what it says of a king that has a kingdom. It says, "Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches gotten by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another." So, because of unright dealings by a king, he can lose his whole kingdom, and another king is going to take it over. Because Heavenly Father then is going to send that king. And, you can look, into our own history within the scriptures, how the Heavenly Father sent kings of other nations, towards us to basically take us down, and basically put us under subjection. So the same thing, this man, thought that he could get away with his practices, with his ill intents, and the rich that he got by deceit, and he was taken out of that position that he had, man, not being able to run a company for 3 years, which, I think that, even though he got all those sentences, after those 9 months, after, he did that community service for 240 hours, he would still be able to set up something, to, get something done. To get something done, because there are other ways. That there's loops in the whole system, man. Setting up a company on his mother's name, making him work under that company, doing all them things, this, that, and the third. So there's a way for him to basically get around that situation. But that's basically where that cycle is gonna repeat itself. Then again, man, you know, constantly being busy, with gaining things by deceit. Which in a way I do understand, because the way that Esau has set up the system is you pay a lot of tax, man. You pay a lot of tax, so they be like, yeah, they're basically fucking us up, so we're getting back at them. But Esau being in authority, he can do whatever the f he want to do, and he gonna get you, man. And what did the Lord say? The Lord said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, man, because this is not our kingdom. We're just using all these things, basically, as an end to a means, or as a means to an end. That's the right saying. It's Salakia. As a means to an end, to get shit done, basically. As a defense, to have a roof, to have food, a shower, clothing. Just that. That's the way that we're supposed to deal with it, man. Not trying to cheat our way out of this system. So, yeah, basically that, man. If you want to do things, you want to set up things, you have to do that, with truth and sincerity, man, because the scriptures show you that doing those things with truth and sincerity, putting in the work, not doing it with ill intent, not doing it with seed injuries, strange practices, that's when the Heavenly Father is able to, bless your hands, or, bless your work and increase it, man. I'm not saying that we should be busy with, trying to make it in this society, but, we as men of the Lord, we also need to stay busy. There are things that we still need to be doing. Keeping busy, man, staying busy. Making sure that, we are taken care of, that we're able to take care of the brothers, our families, all by the will of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you see. So, being busy with certain things, setting certain things up ain't an evil thing to do. But the way that you set it up, that is, whether it is going to be made or whether it is going to be broken, you see. So with that, I do hope and pray that this video was edifying. And with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. And Shalom to the sinister Akyam, spreading this truth and sincerity. Shalom.